Cleetus McFarland is not your typical race car driver. He's a YouTube personality, a business owner, and an entertainer who has built a massive fan base by doing wild automotive stunts. But on this particular weekend, he was something else. He was a competitor in the ARCA Menards Series race at Daytona, one of the most unpredictable and chaotic events in stock car racing. What happened during the race would not only prove his talent, but also show just how much influence he has in the world of motorsports. From the moment McFarland strapped into his car, the attention was on him. Nascar made sure to set up an in-car camera and live-streamed his race experience directly to YouTube. Over 50,000 viewers tuned in at one point just to watch his onboard footage. That is an incredible number for an ARCA race, a series that does not usually get this kind of exposure. It was proof that social media has changed the game and that bringing in unique personalities can make a huge difference in viewership. The race itself was pure madness. Daytona is a track where cars race at speeds of 180 miles an hour, inches apart, creating a high-risk environment. The slightest mistake can lead to a massive pileup. That is exactly what happened early in the race when a 15-car wreck took out several contenders. The crash reshaped the entire event, leaving only a handful of cars without damage. Among those still standing was Butterbean, the driver who would go on to win the race. Butterbean's victory was one of the biggest stories of the weekend. He was driving the number 28 car for Pinnacle Racing Group and managed to avoid trouble all race long. Winning at Daytona, even in the ARCA series, is a major accomplishment. It is a place where legends are made, and this win put Butterbean on the map in a big way. He led the final 7 laps and held off all challengers to take the checkered flag. What made this even more impressive was the fact that only 4 cars finished the race without damage. Surviving the chaos and coming out on top showed that Butterbean had real skill behind the wheel. But while Butterbean won the race, McFarland was the star of the show in many ways. His race was filled with action from start to finish. He started strong, avoiding the big early wreck and making his way through the field. At one point, he had a dramatic near miss, dodging a crash by just inches. His reaction, which was captured live, became one of the most entertaining moments of the event. Fans watching online loved it, and social media exploded with clips of the near miss. Unfortunately, McFarland's luck ran out when Amber Balcaen lost control of her car and spun directly into him. He had no way to avoid the collision and suffered too much damage to continue, and so his race was over. But his impact was far from finished. What happened next might have been the best part of the entire weekend. Instead of being frustrated or upset about crashing out, McFarland gave one of the most entertaining interviews NASCAR has ever seen in years. He was still full of energy, hyped from the experience, and barely able to contain his excitement. He talked about how fast everything happened, how insane it was to race at Daytona, and how much fun he had. It was raw, real, and completely different from the typical robotic interviews NASCAR fans have gotten used to. People loved it. Social media went crazy with fans, casual viewers, and even those who never had watched a race before sharing clips of the interview. This was exactly the kind of energy NASCAR has been missing. There was a time when drivers had big personalities, when they were not afraid to show real emotions. Over the years, many interviews had become too polished, too careful. McFarland reminded everyone of what made NASCAR exciting in the first place. Big personalities, big moments, and a little bit of chaos. Cleetus McFarland's recent event with 76 Nissan Altimas proves that he is serious about motorsports. The Altima 600 was held at the Freedom Factory, a track he purchased in 2020. This race was open to anyone who had a stock Nissan Altima and a helmet. It was wild, fast, and unlike anything seen before. The Freedom Factory is a 1/3 mile asphalt oval with a figure-8 track, making it much smaller than Daytona. Despite the size difference, McFarland said that this track felt much faster than Daytona. That is a bold statement. Considering Daytona International Speedway is one of the fastest and most famous tracks in the world, the Altima 600 was not like a normal race with caution flags and safety measures. There were only 2 conditions: green for go and red for stop. If a car got wrecked badly, the race would be paused to remove the driver, but the car would stay on the track as an obstacle. This made the race even more chaotic. It was not just about speed, but also survival. With 76 Ultimas on the track, there were crashes everywhere. McFarland was thrilled to see so many people join the event. He pointed out the massive number of Ultimas lined up before the race began. The excitement in his voice showed how much he loved the idea of bringing people together for a fun but intense competition. After winning the Ultima 600 himself, he hinted at the possibility of organizing another similar race in the future. This event came shortly after McFarland's first NASCAR ARCA Menards Series race at Daytona. He made his ARCA debut in the season-opening ride, the Dante 200, driving the number 30 Ford for Rudd Jones Racing. His experience in that race, however, did not go as planned. He started in 23rd place and was involved in 2 crashes, one on lap 12 and another on lap 15. The second crash ended his race early, and he finished in 30th place. Despite the disappointment, McFarland remained positive. He described how exciting it was to drive at Daytona, saying it felt like riding around Daytona like a bald eagle. He even joked that his cut-off sleeves might have helped him avoid the first wreck. His humor and energy make him a unique figure in the racing world. McFarland has big plans for his racing career. He announced on the Dale Jr. Download podcast that he would be racing again in April at Talladega Superspeedway, another famous NASCAR track. Racing America's Tater Kitchen noted that ARCA has been getting some of its highest viewership ratings in over a decade, and many believe that McFarland's involvement has played a role in that. For years, NASCAR has struggled to attract younger fans. Viewership has been declining, and the sport has been searching for ways to bring excitement back. McFarland proved that there is still an audience out there, but they need something fun to watch. He's not the first outsider to bring energy to the sport. A few years ago, Travis Pastrana ran a handful of races, and fans loved it. Even drivers like Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a way of connecting with people by bringing themselves. Somewhere along the way, NASCAR lost that. Many drivers became too careful with their words, too afraid to say something that might upset sponsors. The result was a series that felt less exciting. McFarland showed that having big personalities is not a bad thing, it is what makes sports interesting. The ARCA race at Daytona was wild for many reasons. The early 15-car wreck showed just how difficult it is to race in a pack at high speeds. One mistake can cause a chain reaction, and that is exactly what happened. Later in the race, more crashes took place, with some drivers getting caught in multiple incidents. By the end, nearly every car on the track had some form of damage. One of the unluckiest drivers of the day was Elo Castas. He found himself involved in 4 or 5 separate wrecks. Every time he got back on track, it seemed like he ended up in another crash. And that is how unpredictable Daytona can be. It is a survival race as much as a speed race. Butterbean's ability to stay out of trouble was a key reason why he won. As for McFarland, this might not be the last time we see him on a NASCAR track. He hinted that he could return for Talladega if his car gets repaired in time. If that happens, you can bet fans will be tuning in to see what he does next. His first race proved that he belongs, at least as an entertainer if not as a full-time driver. This ARCA race was one of the most talked about in recent memory. It had everything: wrecks, surprises, breakout performances, and a driver who stole the show without even finishing. McFarland's presence made it feel different, and that is exactly what NASCAR needs more of. The sport is at its best when it embraces big personalities and lets the drivers be themselves. If McFarland races again, it will not just be another ARCA event, it will be must-watch television. Now, don't forget to comment down your thoughts on this, and while you're down there, make sure to smash that subscribe button as well.